No, you're on there too.
Oh no! This is live? Sorry.
She's laughing. I'm going to be posting some links to try to get some more people in here before I really actually start playing.
Is anyone on there already?
It looks like we've got one. There were two at first. I don't know where they come from. It's hard for me to tell who knows about these. Since they don't show up on Google Plus anymore. But I'm posting them on things like Twitter and Facebook, all over the place. So I've just tweeted this out, and it's on Facebook. I'm going to also put it on the Facebook page for Williams Music. And we'll go to Google. Tweet that out. Put it on Google Plus as well. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do. It's been, I think the last time I did one of these was like last spring. So it's been 6 months or something since I've actually done a live feed. I did a tape feed. Which actually was fairly popular considering that it was pre-recorded. One of the biggest differences with the tape feed is that you get basically like the same quality audio that I listen to when I'm doing this, and that's way better than what you get with the live feeds. With these live feeds, the quality of the audio is, you know, kind of like really low-end radio quality, and then the quality of the video is also pretty low. So even with the best possible bandwidth that I have available, it's still far from what you get with a pre-recorded one. However, this is live. Okay. So I'm going to put this draw app on so I can annotate things. Text. There we go. Looks like the draw program isn't working. Try one more time. You know what would be great is if someone would tweet me whether or not you're seeing what I'm drawing on the page. I'm trying to draw the link to williamsmusic.com. That should be right above my head. The program isn't actually allowing it. So, oh, but I can do bizarre picture stamps like this. I can put this weird hat over my head, I think. Maybe. Okay, so it's been a while, and hopefully if you see the feed right now, you'll be seeing just me. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to have to eventually come up with a new software solution to these feeds where I can actually put in titles and all sorts of things. And Google Hangouts on Air has been working for us for the last couple of years, but now they're kind of phasing it out, and it was hard to even get it to start up in this case. So it's being broadcast out on YouTube Live, but it is still Google Hangouts on Air, and I still have access to the chat that was in the original Hangouts on Air, and I can still check for the use of the hashtag, which is Ask Andrew Williams. Hashtag Ask Andrew Williams. So if you want to ask me a question, you're going to have to send it by that format. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it otherwise. So while I'm talking about that, I'm just going to bring up the tag board for Ask Andrew Williams, and we'll see if anyone's using that hashtag. So it's hashtag Ask Andrew Williams, all one word, AskAndrewWilliams. Do that on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And what we're going to talk about is whatever you want. You want to talk about music, or whatever you like. It'd be easier to use Twitter, actually, because I can look at Twitter without having to check the tag board. In absence of any actual requests at this time, I'm not seeing any hashtag requests or any chats. I'm just going to make some music, and I'm going to pontificate. There'll be music, and there'll be lots of opinion in between. So let's start off with the musical portion. Musical portion today. I'm going to start with White Christmas. One thing I'm finding that's different is the volume level that I'm seeing is higher than what it was before. I haven't changed anything in the studio, but maybe something's different. Yes. Check. So the only way to test that is for me to try to play this back somehow. At the same time that it's going out live. We did this recently, and it was moderate success. So if you actually hear something going on that sounds like something that happened a few minutes ago, then don't be alarmed. I'm just testing my... Yeah, maybe it's too loud. Okay, so I can tell already that things are not working correctly. You're not hearing the background music. So let me just change the settings here. Check. Okay, it should be much different now. Okay, I think we need to start up again at the beginning of White Christmas so you can hear the band this time. One more time, White Christmas. That was a proper White Christmas. So I'll just check on that one. Make sure it went out and was released into the air like gas. Okay, looks good. While I think about what tune is going to come next, this is the pontification part of today's festivities. The election and all these other things that have happened recently have indicated that we've reached a point, at least from my perspective, where there's a great deal of negative energy. And this, I mean, I see it mostly on social media. I see it on Facebook, Twitter, and places like that. Not so much in real life, but then how much real life is there? It makes me wonder if we suddenly like passing into this like new darkness. And then at the same time, find that beautiful music is still available. And I don't mean playing back recordings of it that were done during the light era, but beautiful music can still be made now. If, like me, you believe that music is something that just is available to us through our connection to the source of all, and if it's just this constant energy that we can pick up on and resonate with, musicians can make it come out into real manifestation in real time. If we really truly on this world had descended into a dark place, I don't think beautiful music would still be possible. And yet it's still possible, and it does happen. So I would point in that direction. Because it may seem like there's no hope, like there's no way past the darkness, but that's not the case. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I found that music has become even more vibrant. Here's a standard called But Not For Me. This is sort of it's a study in the break. The break is when the rhythm section leaves some space. The entire rhythm section lays out for a prearranged amount of time, like a measure or two. And then the soloist is going to fill that up. It creates a sort of feeling of suspended animation at that time. And the release of tension that happens at the end of the break is pretty powerful. And so often the breaks are only done once or twice throughout the entire performance of a tune. And this is different. This is something that Miles did it, and Jackie McLean, and there's probably some others I'm not thinking of at this time, would take a tune and just turn it into like an etude on breaks. That's what this is. So here's But Not For Me.
But not for me. I think we want to do a few different kind of grooves today. Some different things. I've got a reggae tune here. That's my only reggae tune. It's an original. It's one of my earliest songs, actually. I think I wrote this in '89. In order to make it sound right, I gotta change my trombone sound here. We're gonna have a little delay. Echo. 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 Here, this is the effect. That might be a bit much. Playing with these effects is pretty fun. You can overdo it. I would recommend listening very closely to what you're playing. It's really a question of the effect, and the affected instrument suddenly becomes your instrument. So you can't always play the same that you would if you didn't have the effect. So this is my original reggae tune. It wasn't a reggae tune when I wrote it until I realized years later that it actually was. It's called Rain Dance, and I hope you like it. It's the only reggae tune that you're going to hear from me today. Rain Dance. That was Rain Dance. Rain Dance. We're going to try to see if the tag board shows anything. So far, we don't have any questions. Anything on Twitter. I think it's time to change pace a bit. We're going to go from real mellow to really not mellow. This is Yes or No. It's a tune by Wayne Shorter. I can just find my track of it. Yes or No. It's in here somewhere. Wayne Shorter's Yes or No.
One, two, one. 1, 2, 1.
That's the kind of tune that I want to play 4 or 5 times, but I'm going to spare my listeners from hearing me practice it. It's, I just love that song. It just goes on, and it's almost like goes in a circle, and it's like a very compelling circle for me. I mean, it doesn't literally go in circles. It's not like it's going through some predictable pattern of chords that make a circle. It just, to me, it's almost like a representation of a circle, like a path that you follow from the beginning of the chorus to the end. To me, it feels very complete. That's why I think of it as a circle. That's Yes or No by Wayne Shorter. We're gonna, we'll try, let's do something I haven't done in a while. This is Misty. I play this with my band on Fridays. We play here in Binghamton. And Misty is a tune that we do from time to time.
One, two, 1, 2.
Misty. It's funny how I want the band to hear me, and the band is just a playback device. I have to listen to them, but they don't have to listen to me. They're just a play-along recording. Well, I let my chops rest a little bit. Let's see if there's any questions. You know what I really want is some kind of program that will automatically just feed me all the hashtag questions from the entire universe of social media. Anything that has that Ask Andrew Williams hashtag on it should just immediately come right into my window without me having to search for it or anything like that. That's what I would really love right now. Okay. I did have a couple of offline requests. One of them I can't do on this program because I need to do it in a different room. And that pertained to cleaning the instrument. And the other one, well, the first one, I'm going to do an offline video, and I'll post it. The other question had to do with my vibrato. And I think that the way that they asked the question, it had to do with the sort of tailing vibrato that I put at the end of notes or at the end of phrases sometimes. And I guess the video doesn't really do justice to the resolution needed to see what's going on with my face when I do this, because I actually am just doing it with my jaw, and it's it probably doesn't look like it because you're seeing me from the front, and so the mouthpiece and everything is going to obscure that motion a little bit. But the vibrato that I like to use is um, done with the jaw. It's done by changing the opening degree of the mouth just a little. It's a very subtle difference. I don't know if I can demonstrate. So you might not have seen anything, but I am actually moving the jaw a little. It's this little subtle kind of chewing that goes on. I'm not actually chewing anything with my teeth. It's just like a slight up and down of the lower jaw. So experiment with that. But by all means, focus on what you wish to sound like. That's really how the sound is made. You know, there are a lot of ways of making vibrato on trombone, and you know, some people just like use slide vibrato only, and some people will use like a diaphragmic vibrato, which I almost never do. I don't even know if I can do diaphragm vibrato. Yeah, it sounds almost like a tremolo when I do that. Um, the primary vibrato that I use in almost all styles of music has to do with the waving of the jaw. It can be different speeds, it can be different amounts, you know, but you need to focus on the outcome. If you focus primarily on the process, you know, the physical motion that you're doing, it's going to make your music sound fake, and as if you had sort of planned it like a gimmick. So it's more a question of just, you know, learning how to do it right. You know, it's a jaw wave, and you know, it's very subtle. So, you know, you try it once and then stop thinking about it and just start thinking about the sound that you want to make. That's where you should be focused. And it's not going to happen overnight, you know. You got to focus on it and then keep doing that. You know, you want your sound to be legit. And by legit, I mean your sound. It should be you. It shouldn't be me. It shouldn't be you copying me or any of that stuff. I mean, maybe at first you want to copy someone, which is how I learned, but that's not the reason why we're doing this. The reason why you're copying someone is just so that you can find your way over the hurdles of the learning the technique in the quickest way possible, and that's through imitation. But you got to find also your way eventually to being most true to what your music is. And so if you're still thinking about, well, in order for me to sound like me, I got to do this specific motion with my hands or with my mouth or something like that, then that's a distraction away from being you. You know, so that means that, okay, if it's true, then you just haven't practiced it enough that it's gotten to the point where you're not thinking about it anymore. It should be completely burned in and kind of action from the mind. You know, so the mind can relax and then just allow the music to flow through you. And that music, if it includes vibrato, then it's a matter of practicing and really letting that vibrato be a part of your concept. Vibrato is an emotional expression, I think, if it works. I mean, just look at where it really comes from, which is the human voice. I think that, like, listening to a lot of opera, especially by really good singers, it helps to understand why people do vibrato, you know. There are some great jazz musicians that can do vibrato well. And there are some who don't do it very well, and they just don't play vibrato, and you don't have to. There are some guys that just never do any vibrato, and they still play great, you know. But if it's an affectation, or if it's something sort of phony, then the listeners may not be able to process that mentally, but I don't think they're going to be moved by you. So if you want to move people, then you got to be 100% you. That's what people are moved by, honesty. So when you practice your vibrato, you know, just at first is where you're going to be dealing with the physical aspects of it. And then after that, once you master that, and it could only just take a few minutes, it's like, oh, I just have to move my jaw a little, or I just got to move my slide a little. I'm going to save the whole slide vibrato discussion for a different day. But once you're past that initial point of learning how to do it, then, you know, it's not something to be focused on. You want to focus on the outcome, the sound that you're producing. So next tune up is going to be Love for Sale. My chops are getting a little tired. It's time to take a rest. So let's just do one last little check. Anyway, that was Love for Sale, and that's going to conclude our afternoon today. Thank you for coming. And if you're listening to this after the fact, thank you for coming to my page. I've got some new things that are in the works. There's a new course that I'm doing that's a video course that where you can play exercises along with me. It's designed to assist you in your practicing daily, make it a lot easier to get to the next level step by step, but without having to guess at what should be going on sound wise. And so you have this this thing to play along with where you can come back to it every day, any day. That's becoming available on my Vimeo page, and I'll be doing more on that soon. So, and we'll be doing some more of these live feeds. There aren't very many people that are coming in right now, and that's really a question of finding better ways to advertise and promote these sorts of things. What we are going for is to have this be more of a collective thing where more people are going to participate and, sending in questions or potentially even video chat where people can actually talk about stuff, musical stuff or whatever stuff that they feel strongly about. So, thanks for tuning in, and see you soon.